Okay, so I mean, we've obviously talked through this. I've worked with you closely on these projects, but in the past we've seen some of the proprietary systems, and I don't know what's a good example. Would you say MTRJ is a good example in a way of it was a connector, standards-based connector, but yet there's a proprietary aspect to it. This connector, you required to have all new materials, right? This is going to save your life. This is going to make things easier. It seems like constantly new things are coming out. Hey, this is going to be the greatest thing, but we've been static. Well, not static, but the LC has been predominant for a while now. Right. You yourself, well, we've been working together 10 years plus. Right. You've been pushing the MPO or MTP connector for a long time, and as time has gone by, I've seen how, I guess, wise of a push that has been. Is there, I just want to point that out, but do you see, is that still a problem that these proprietary systems are being put in place? It seems like it's a waste of money a lot of times, and historically it has been a waste of money for many organizations.
Well, sure, but here's the good news. The good news is that as far as connectivity goes, there's really no proprietary, well, there is no proprietary connectivity that is predominant in the data center today, and I think looking towards the future will ever be. The industry is pretty much settled on LC, okay? Yep. Back in the day when connectors got smaller and then the small form factors came out, there was a big competition in the marketplace to see which footprint was going to take effect. Okay. And LC won out predominantly because of its performance characteristics and things of this sort. The other interconnect is MPO. Some people refer to it as different names. Some people call it MPO. That's actually the industry standard name for it. There's some brand name out there. Most people are familiar with it by MTP. Relatively recent and new technology to some people, but it's actually been around for quite some time. Back in the day when you used to be able to pre-order mainframe systems that came pre-cabled directly from the manufacturer, they were cabled up with these systems. For years, and again, it's been 20 plus years really for this particular connector. But it took off in the marketplace, a few years back when the standards for 40 gigabit were developed around this particular connector as an active component rather than just a passive component in the market. But again, what we talked about earlier, this is what inherently brings in challenges in the data center because the MPO has a polarity associated with it because it's a multi-fiber connector. It also has a gender associated with it. Okay. Because every time that you plug an MPO together, whether it's a cassette module, a feed-through adapter, or actually into a transceiver, one side has to be male, one side has to be female. The male side has alignment pins. That is necessary because there's 12 fibers in a very small package, and alignment is critical for fiber optic performing connectivity, so to speak. Yep. And then also when we start talking about, and we'll get into it now if you want, we'll talk about obviously the higher speeds. Utilize this connector to transmit multiple lanes, for lack of a better term, of gigabit or data down the pipe. And it does not transmit as a fiber 1-2, which we're kind of associated with the duplex LC model, but it transmits over parallel optics, which utilizes the first 4 fibers for transmit and the second for the last 8 fiber or last 4 fibers, 8 to 12, for receive. Okay. So inherently, that's how the challenges come into effect. All right. But yeah, and then if that wasn't challenging enough, we're already talking about 200 and 400 gigabit in the marketplace. That's going to use an MPO-based style connector as well, but possibly increasing the ferrule size up to 8 and 32 or 16 and 32 fiber positions. And then obviously with the relatively new release of short range single mode in the data center, it's becoming actually very cost effective to actually run single mode in your data center. But again, transmitting on parallel optics using the MPO. And again, we talk about proprietary systems as far as paths go. and it prevents you from following some standards in the data center if, in fact, you choose to go single mode with this particular connector.